Let's look at the new features coming to Apple's Notes and Reminders apps in iOS 17 and macOS Sonoma. And let's start with Reminders. I'm looking at Reminders here on my iPad running the beta software. Now, this is going to look more or less the same on iPhone and on the Mac. One of the new cool features is called Early Reminders. So if I tap into a reminder, like this iron shirts reminder right here, as before, I can set a date on it. So for example, I can say I'm scheduling this for tomorrow, and I can also set a time. For example, I can do 7 p.m. Now, if I tap done and then go over to the built-in scheduled view, you'll see that for tomorrow, there's this iron tasks or iron shirts to do or reminder listed right here. This is the same that it was before, but what I can now do is go back into that info panel for this particular reminder and set what's called an early reminder right here. And there's some suggestions, like for example, 1 day before, but I can also say custom. In this case, I'll choose 1 day before. Now what's gonna happen is 1 day before the so-called due date, which is tomorrow at 7 p.m. So 1 day before that is today at 7 p.m. I will get a push notification on my devices that says, iron those shirts. This is a cool new feature, but I also think it's a missed opportunity. I was really hoping that reminders would get something that we call start dates, meaning 2 separate dates. One is the due date, when does this have to be done by? And the other is, hey, this is when I plan to work on it. And people have asked, can you use this early reminder feature to essentially make a to-do list for today, but still track a different deadline? So you say, you know what, I'd like to work on this today, but it absolutely has to be done by tomorrow. Unfortunately, you cannot do that. There is no built-in view to see all your reminders that have an early reminder set. And even if I go to a smart list, like this list right here, a smart list is a list, by the way, that shows all of the reminders, to-dos matching certain criteria. So here I've built this custom today smart list, and these are the filters that I use. There's no way here to say, show me all of the reminders that have an early reminder set to today. If it did, this would be really helpful, but it doesn't, so it's a cool new feature, but nothing game-changing. Another new feature is that you can now break up your lists into sections. Here's how that works. For example, I'm looking at a health list, and there's a bunch of one-off tasks and a bunch of recurring tasks. What I can do is tap the ellipsis at the top right, and then tap Add Section, and I can call that Recurring Maintenance, for example. And I can do this just to apply a little bit more structure to my list. What I can then do is grab some of the recurring to-dos and put them underneath the Recurring Maintenance section, just like this. 1, 2, 3, and I have a 4th one right there. And this can be really handy because it allows you to break up, larger projects into smaller chunks. Here's another example. If I go over to my YouTube videos project, what I can do is I can break this up into different stages that I'm working with, and I can then show this as a Kanban board. So I've created sections for writing, editing, and publishing YouTube videos. There's some other steps, so we'll start right here. And what I can do is, again, if I tap the ellipsis, I can say view as columns. So this is new as well, and now we have a Kanban board here. So this video that I'm working on right now, showing you the new features, actually, I have outlined it, and I'm currently recording it, but what I can do is I can go ahead and add a new section. So I'm gonna manage columns and say add columns, and I'll call it recording. And what I can do is drag that over. The way that works actually is you go back to manage columns, then go edit columns, and then I can grab recording and put it in between writing and editing. There we go. Now that's where that sits. And then this video, I can drag that right in here. So this is a visual way of organizing your tasks and reminders. Another new feature is very handy for if you use reminders for your grocery or shopping list. I have a list here that I've called groceries. Now what I can do in iOS 17 or reminders on Sonoma is, again, tap the ellipsis and then tap show list info. And you'll see where it says list type right here. List type can be either standard or shopping now. So I'm gonna turn this into a shopping list and then tap done. Now you see that there's a little caret symbol here. You know that it's a shopping list. Now what I can do is if I start adding items, watch what happens. I'll add some bananas and raspberries and soy milk and coconut yogurt and walnuts and iced tea and toilet paper. And what you'll see is that these reminders automatically get categorized into the various buckets. Now, this doesn't always work. This is beta software, so it took a while for toilet paper, but it got sorted now. And this can be really handy because then when you're in the grocery store, you can see that, hey, from this aisle, this is all the things that I need to grab. You might also have noticed, by the way, that if I start typing something, for example, if I start typing pecans, you'll see that it suggests pecans or peanut butter, automatically suggests items that you've added to lists before, so you can just tap those and add them. And a final new feature that I want to show you about the Reminders app is that you now have interactive widgets. So here on the home screen of my iPad, I have a Reminders widget at the top right, and I can actually just tap it and tick off reminders. You used to not be able to do that. You used to only be able to tap it and then it would open reminders for you, but this is a little bit more convenient. By the way, if you didn't already know, if you long tap the widget and then tap edit widget, then you can change the lists that displayed. So for example, you can make this your grocery list and put that on your iPhone's home screen if you want, and it can be really easy for you when you walk around in the grocery store. Let's move on to the Notes app. Now, the big new feature in the Notes app is that you can link easily from one note to another, which is something that was very clunky before. Here, I created a note for, let's say, all of my imaginary meetings that I have today. I might have a morning stand-up, then a meeting about relaunching a website, and then a meeting that's a 360-degree feedback meeting with, let's say, one of my employees. What I've done is underneath all these headings, I've linked to other notes. So if I, right here, tap this July 16, 2023 morning stand-up link, boom, it takes me to a different note where I have some things written down that are relevant to that meeting. And I can go back and tap the website, relaunch progress note as well, and like this. I could create links back to that original note as well. Here's how you add a link, by the way. If you just find some empty space and then just tap once, oh, it's a little finicky sometimes. Just tap once, there you go. And then see how there's an option that says add link. So I'll just tap add link right there. And then here I'll just start typing. So in this case, I might do Jerome. You can say use the note title as name, but you can also uncheck that, and then you can say notes on Jerome himself. What I like to do when I meet new people, or when I meet people later, actually, is I like to take some notes on the things that we talked about. So the next time that I chat with people right before I meet them, I can check in and see, oh yeah, right, what were all the things that we talked about? And so anyway, I can now tap that link that says notes on Jerome himself, and that goes to that particular note. The second new feature in the Notes app is that you can now view PDF attachments directly inside the note. Let me show you what I mean by that. First, actually, I'll tap into the search field and show you something that you may not know. If I tap PDF in the search field, there's a suggestion that says PDF attachments. And if I tap that, it'll show me all my notes with PDF attachments. Now, let's open one right here. And now what you'll see is inside this note, I can have some text in the note right here, right? So some text in the note, but you'll see that the PDF appears in line here, which it didn't before. And that can be really convenient if you quickly need to look at it. But you can also tap this little arrow right here next to the title and say view as, and you can say small, and then your PDF will look like this, which is what PDFs used to look like in Notes. Or I can say view as medium, it becomes a little bit bigger, you get a preview of it. Or I can say view as large, and that's what we looked at initially. You can also tap show thumbnails, and if there's a PDF with multiple pages, like for example this one, I can tap show thumbnails and very easily go to the right page in the PDF as well, and I can scroll through it. In addition to viewing PDFs inline in Notes, you can now also directly edit them and mark them up inside a note. So for example, here I'm looking at a medical form for scuba diving, which is something that I really like to do. So let's say I have to fill this out. I can take my Apple Pencil and I can tap the pencil icon at the top right, and maybe I'll zoom in a little bit, and I can actually just start checking off boxes. Now, let's say I'm done with the form. What I can then do is tap the little arrow icon near the name of the form at the top, and then I can tap share and save this to files or email it to someone. So are the Reminders and Notes apps way better in iOS 17 and macOS Sonoma than they used to be? I don't think so. I think the early reminders feature is nice, but at the same time a missed opportunity. I do think the Kanban boards and sections will be very helpful for organizing your to-dos in reminders a little bit better, and being able to check off items in interactive widgets is a nice quality of life improvement. As for the Notes app, linking between notes, that's definitely very handy. It's not a very advanced implementation of linking between notes, but if you only need a simple implementation like I demonstrated right here, that might make a big difference for you. Now, I want to warn you that this is currently beta software. It's full of bugs, and the interface and the features might also change between now and the public release, which is coming this fall, as always, with Apple. So I don't recommend that you install this. Instead, what I recommend that you do in the meantime is download my Apple Notes and Apple Reminders cheat sheets, which will be very handy for you. I'll also put up some videos that you can watch to learn more about Notes and Reminders. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Ciao.